Marisa, welcome to the show. You were a massive high achiever. You've decided to turn your back on that completely.
I genuinely thought I was going insane.
Men or women, who makes better leaders?
Oh, this is a good one.
Because it was 4 months between you giving birth and basically having pneumonia, which nearly killed you.
Yeah.
And then a few months later, you're told at your job, things are going to change.
Best things for me about leaving corporate is the ability to speak up on whatever I want to say. Now I have a beautiful life. I wake up, go to the gym, come back, have a coffee, spend some time with my daughter.
When it comes to women in leadership, there is a lot of unconscious bias.
You know, whatever it is, I think you should always hire the best candidate. I think you should take a long, hard look at yourself if your 10 employees are white men or they're all one gender.
You went to the West Bank.
I've never experienced anything like it.
Screw the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Elaborate. Today's guest is Marisa Kamall. Marisa is the founder of Gaia, a women's leadership network designed to nurture and develop women as leaders across the region. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are the heart of everything that Marisa does. Her story is also remarkable. She was a managing director of a FTSE 100 company managing over 5,000 people before a life-threatening illness took hold, as well as some deep personal challenges she had to go through. Having now left the corporate world, she has aligned with her values and is doing everything that she can to help other women in leadership to shine. Join me for a truly inspirational chat.
Is an executive coach who is helping individuals overcome barriers and achieve their full potential to truly thrive in corporate settings. Marisa Kamall. Welcome, Marisa.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I just felt like I wanted to empower the next generation of leaders. And what I want to see is less, and I think this is quite old school to be honest, but less kind of like authoritarian, you do it my way. If you don't set clear boundaries, it's quite inauthentic.
I think when people look at my journey, some might say, oh, you just left corporate and then you jumped into this business and now you have your own thing and it's going really well. You look at people and you think they're successful, but a lot has gone into that.
Hello everyone and welcome to Luca's Insight Track. Today I'm joined by Marisa. Marisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you, it's a pleasure to be here.
How are you doing?
I am very good, actually.
Yeah?
Thank you, yeah. And you?
You had I'm doing well. You had a coffee incident on the way over. What happened?
I did. Well, I was pretty excited and I thought I'd just fuel that excitement with a cup of coffee on the way. Sat in the car, took one sip and just like dripped all over.
Oh no,
Yeah.
So you had to change your outfit?
Yeah, just ran in quick.
But by the way, I love what you're wearing. It's fantastic.
Thank
Looks
you.
great on camera as well, I have to say.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I wasn't sure because normally I'd go for like black or white. And
Yeah.
then when you said no white, I was like,
Yeah.
just go all out.
Just go standard. You've watched a few episodes,
Yes.
so you know how I normally start.
hmm
What's your mug? What's the mug all about?
So the mug is, I've bought the second favorite mug because they both mean so much to me. And I'm worried you're going to do something crazy with it, like make me smash it at the end or something. I don't know what happens offline.
No, I'm just going to steal it.
So basically, I've got one, this one says Undergardener, and
Okay.
I've got another one that says Gardener.
Okay.
And they are mugs from my grandparents' house. So my granddad was an avid gardener. I don't know what happens, but like when you get old, you really like gardening
Yeah.
in the UK. And I don't know whether
Yeah. It's definitely a British thing.
it is a British thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so he had the gardener mug and then my grandma had the undergardener mug. And they're literally like the only thing that I have of theirs. So
That's your grandmother's mug.
that's my grandma's mug. Yeah,
I can't
so
take your grandmother's mug.
I know.
I can't do it. I really want to. I've had other people come on like sob stories. No, this mug was given to me. We're like, I don't care. I'm stealing it.
Yeah.
But now I've almost got a face to the whole story, and I'm just imagining your grandmum in your garden, just weeding away or something.
I know.
I don't know
And
if I can do it. I don't know if I can steal it.
it's probably as well. I mean, it's in really good condition
Yeah.
compared to the rest of our mugs. And I reckon it's probably it must be 20 years old.
Yeah. Are you a
So
gardener?
it's on you.
Do you gardener, by the way?
No.
No, not at all. Not in
No.
Dubai. Does anyone garden in Dubai?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not. We had a little herb garden that lasted, I don't know, 10 minutes.
Yeah. Your story is incredible. Look, I'm really happy for you to be on the show. There's a lot I want to talk to you about. Different subjects,
Mhm.
climbing corporate ladders, setting up a women's leadership network, trying to empower women leaders basically across the region, but also what you've been through as a person and sort of some of the tragedies that you've had to experience. So there's a lot I want to talk to you about. It's with when I host, I always think, what is the very first question, other than the mug, that I ask?
Yeah.
Right, and it's quite tricky because sometimes if you go in too big too early, the guest is like deer in headlights. But then if you go in a bit soft, it's a bit like, well, the audience don't really care. So my first question to you, Marisa, is what do you want to talk about today?
What do I want to talk about? So I was thinking about this on the way over, and I was reflecting on your journey as well as my journey, because I think they're quite like similar paths, similar but different. And just thinking about like authenticity, alignment, and how I guess we both got there, and the challenges of where we are now versus where we were. Because I feel like a lot of people are at that tipping point, or people that I speak to are like, how am I going to change my life? What am I going to do?
Yeah. We get to that certain age, right? So we're both millennials.
Yeah.
We found out yesterday. I'm just the cusp. But I think there's a millennial thing going on, right? If you get to your 40s, early 40s, there's more of us asking certain questions, right?
I think we're that generation where we're kind of in the middle of graft really hard, do long hours, make it happen. But then we're seeing other generations being like, I'm not doing that. You lot are crazy. Yeah. So it's like, are you kind of enlightened enough to take the jump?
Yeah. And all our parents said is got to work hard. That's it. Not even play hard, just work hard. And then maybe, if you're lucky, you can enjoy a little bit of your retirement.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a different world though now that we live in.
Yeah, I mean, that concept of, I've got another 15 years till I can retire, or I'll do this for another 10 years. I mean, it's like your life, you know, 10 years is a long time.
It's a long time.
It's a long time.
And then the retirement age is shifting because we're living longer than we've ever lived.
Yeah.
So in the old days, 60 was pretty much the retirement age. What is it now? 80 now?
No. And 60 doesn't feel that far off.
You're okay. I'm still older.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, like we're seeing my parents, they retired too early. And also mentally, it's difficult if you're not keeping your mind active. So we're encouraged to keep on working. So then the earlier you can make the decision to potentially align your values and step out of something that you're not, and we're talking about the corporate world, something that you don't totally believe in, you'll be able to reap the benefits for a much longer period than you would have done previously. Definitely.
There's that period of hardship that you have to push through. And I was talking to my husband about this morning, because if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
So we're both at that kind of like tipping point of like going through that really challenging period, but it's really on the up. But I mean, it takes drive and grit, doesn't it to make that jump?
And also it takes potentially other factors, third parties. Your story, correct me if I'm wrong, you were a managing director of a FTSE 100 company, HSBC. And you were managing over 5,000 people, give or take, in the organization. You were a massive high achiever, right? And yet you've decided to turn your back on that completely, do something that you've never really done before, okay, which is really starting up your own women's leadership network out here in the region. You got a bunch of coaching badges underneath you, right? And it's been 12 months. Right? Give or take. So talk me through the mindset of someone who's been managing a really impressive job with huge responsibility on their shoulders to basically saying, you know what, I want to turn my back on that and I want to do something that I really like doing, with a massive question mark of uncertainty over what comes next.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a journey, and I think now I can reflect with, I guess, kindness and appreciation for everything that happened, and it having to be that way for me to be shifted out the way, and the universe bringing it up to me like this in such a drastic way for me to make a change. So I had a baby in 2021 and honestly just completely shifted everything. I had postnatal depression, and it just really awakened me to this whole world of parents that, these people that have this other stuff going on outside of work. And then they show up and they're able to do these like high powered jobs. And I don't know what it was like for you, but I was like, what is going on? So I had postnatal depression. And then shortly after, I ended up in hospital with life-threatening pneumonia. And that now I look back, and that's just because I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't listening to my body. I was clearly really stressed, and I wasn't doing anything proactive, like speaking to a therapist, taking time to really talk about it with my friends. I kept it to myself, that it just resulted in like severe sickness. And then a few weeks later, the company that I worked for, HSBC, had a conversation with me about making some changes to my role. And I just thought,
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't think, these things happen, restructuring happens. But I don't think I would have left had it not been for all three things.
I mean, all three things are massive.
Yeah.
I don't know which, your life threatening is probably I would probably rank as sort of, the highest in terms of its importance, but postnatal depression is a big, big subject. A lot of people suffer from it, and it has long-term, right? I mean, I'm not a woman. I haven't experienced birth, giving birth, but I've heard stories that it can last for years sometimes.
It's massive. It's like this crazy shift in the way that you think. And, for me personally, on all these kind of like strengths assessment and skills test, personality types, or whatever, positivity is like one of the top. Yeah. And I've never really had this kind of anxiety or feelings of thankfully, I'm grateful for that. I've never really felt that way. Yeah. So when it hit me, I was like, what is happening? I literally feel like a completely different person. I have a baby at home that I don't really want at home. I don't know what to do with. I don't feel comfortable with at all. Yeah. I'm used to firing on all cylinders in a corporate environment in this big job and getting stuff done. And now there's nothing to get done other than the biggest job in the world, which is keep this human alive. So it was really just everything altogether. And obviously, after that, the recovery was quite long, but it had to happen like that for me to think this, where I am right now and what I'm doing with my life just isn't aligned to my values. And life is way too short and way too precious to be doing stuff just for money.
There are so many people who feel exactly how you do, but yet don't take that plunge, which we'll get into before I go any further, because we are talking about some serious subjects here. Mm-hmm. Safe word? What's your safe word?
Woke.
Woke?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Meaning? How come woke?
I love the term woke, and I love it when people are woke, because effectively it's just standing up for what's right, and it's anti-establishment. It's just calling out what's wrong in the world. Yeah. And I hate the fact that it's become this like wokeism, or so-and-so's woke and they just get shut down. Okay. When actually for me, it's, that's what we should be doing. We should be bringing.
So it's the principles behind it.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. That's the first time someone's come up with woke. There we go. It's a first.
Good.
So that few months, because it was 4 months between you giving birth and basically having pneumonia, which nearly killed you. Yeah. And then a few months later, you're told at your job, things are going to change. Mm-hmm. That's intense. What's going through your mind at this point?
Yeah, it's massive. And actually, I genuinely thought I was going insane, because my brain just wasn't being rational. Like I knew it wasn't right. And I also knew it wasn't my fault, but my brain was like, what is happening? And what am I actually going to do with my life? Am I going to be able to ever get a job? Because these like stupid thoughts, when I'm super smart, was really good at my job, could walk into any bank and get like another role like that, subject to availability. But it was just horrific. And my husband was really good, because I had the option to stay and do something slightly different. But for me, it was the act of what happened that was just like, no.
So what was their reason? What did they tell you? And what do you think was the real reason?
They told me it was a kind of a global restructure, grade changing. But in my mind, and it probably was, but in my mind, I look back at the men who'd had the job before me, and they had it when it was half the size. And when I took it, it was doubled. And so the kind of the grade leveling didn't make sense. Mm. And if you want to level the playing field for women, then you don't do stuff like that. And there's like a handful of managing director females in banking.
Give me a percentage globally, or even in the UK.
In the UK, I think C-suite's probably around 20%.
Okay. How does that compare with other industries? Do you know?
Other industries, I don't know really.
Okay. In this part of the world, in banking, is it less than 20%?
It's less than 20%.
Is
You're
it
looking
less than
at-
double digits?
Yes. In C-suite, yes. For senior women executives, around 30%, but in C-suite. And you have this, you have lots of companies who have kind of a token woman on the board, but really to have, I guess, that feminine influence, you need a minimum of 3. Because otherwise you just get this kind of, natural quieting down, not speaking up, not being heard, which is natural in any kind of environment where you have a dominant of.
Yeah. When you were given the position, or when you earned the position, let's say, how much pride did you have, and how much awareness did you have the importance of the fact that you were a woman in a role such as this? Like, how conscious were you of all the eyes on you?
Yeah, I was super proud, and I believe that I got it on merit as well. I had roles all over HSBC Group in Latin America, here, and the UK, covering all aspects of the bank. And I really take it seriously on role modeling and giving people that, a leader that they would actually want to emulate. Versus what we've seen before, which is, things being done in a certain way, perhaps more of a masculine way. And when I say masculine, I mean like masculine energy, not necessarily the way that men do things, but there's not that kind of softer, empathetic way of leading that's very common. And so I really wanted to bring that with a natural style, which is always direct as well, but in a really safe, trusted
But you weren't, you must have been self-aware of the fact that part of that 20%, you are in the minority typically as a leader in that industry.
Yes.
Did you feel like every decision made that you did was more scrutinized than if it was a man? Did you feel like you had less rope, let's say, when it comes to taking decisions?
I think when I was perhaps a bit more junior, more kind of director level, I felt that.
Okay.
But what I really loved, because I became an MD when I moved to this region, and what I really love about this region is how diverse it is, ethnically and culturally. And I think that actually really supported, I know this isn't the case for everybody, here or in the region, but I think that really supported me in that role and the growth, and just being hyper aware of people's backgrounds and views of things just creates a really amazing environment if you harness that. And I definitely really felt that.
Nice. You obviously had the baby. How long did the postnatal depression last?
Oh, so I would say the really, really bad bit, maybe 6 months. But then beyond that, a couple of years of just feeling like, what have I? Yeah,
How old? Is it a boy or a girl?
Girl, Paloma.
Beautiful name. How old is she now?
She is 3.5.
Okay, I've got a son, 3.5.
Yeah.
Hello. Huh? Hello, cheeky play dates. And now as a mum, how do you feel that you took the decision when you did? Do you ever have moments where you're like, God, I could have done with a bit of extra income. I could have done with having a bit more security for my daughter. Where was your head at?
Yeah, so I was saying today, actually, because my husband has gone self-employed the same time I has. He has a cleaning business, and we were both just it's weird worrying about money, isn't it? It feels strange for us.
I had the same conversation with my wife literally last night.
I looked at some mangoes in our fruit bowl after you said to me that's
the mango story. So the mango story was when I was a CEO, I could buy what I wanted. I didn't have to worry. I could go to Spinneys, Waitrose, whatever, buy a bunch of mangoes. I love mangoes. I grew up in Nigeria, right? But mangoes are a luxury item. Well, I see them as a luxury item. Most, I think, would. And they're very expensive in Dubai, especially the good ones. So now I only buy mangoes on special occasions. I've won a new client. So it's almost like a reward mechanism rather than it being a de facto. And it's kind of helped recalibrate my mindset when it comes to money and the value of money and the importance of it. So that's my mango story.
I love it. Yeah, I saw 2 mangoes in our fruit bowl and I was like, oh, not bad.
There you go. Someone's living it up.
But to your point, I feel so driven by the purpose and I know it's going to work. It is working, but it's now the reinvestment stage. I could have a nice lifestyle business already, but I want to make more money, but more importantly, impact more women globally, not just here, and provide something that gives women access to coaching at much earlier times in their career than is available like more widely.
So tell us about Gaia, the name of is it a business? We call it a business?
Yeah, it's a business.
Okay.
So everything now is, I had a consultancy and I've just merged everything together now. So it's all in this one banner. So Gaia is a in-person network, started as an in-person network in Dubai for senior women in leadership positions and founders. And it's really based around peer group support. So we like help each other to resolve issues, opportunities, and challenges in a really kind of dynamic, safe space. It's expanding now to have an online and app version so you can access leadership content wherever you are in the world, and a global forum, so bringing people together all over the world for the same kind of peer group experience, but online. And we also run in-house accelerators for female leaders within corporates.
Very nice. So we met through my wife, right, who's a member there. And she's always tells me some fantastic things, and the women that are members as well, they're super inspirational, to be honest with you. When you were setting it up, did you have any idea what it was going to turn into? Because most startups, you don't really know what's kind of just start something and it keeps evolving.
Yeah, I didn't know. And at first I kind of like ran it all manually, you know, like didn't have an app and stuff. And then I was like, oh, if I want to scale this, I need to take out all these manual processes. Yeah. And then I realized there's apps that already focus on communities and you can white label them and stuff. I was like, oh, okay, I could scale it that way. And then the ideas have just like kept coming and coming. Yeah, snowballed. And I want to launch in other expat markets because I think there's quite an appetite for it where you've got like diverse groups in other locations. And
I've got an elephant in the room. I don't know if you can see it. It's over my shoulder. Hopefully the viewers will be able to see it. How do you think men see these types of women's networks?
I think it depends on the man. But it's not about, for me, Gaia isn't about like male bashing and burning our bras and like doing all that stuff, you know, it's like beyond that. It's way more mature than that. The reality is in life, it's harder for women to be successful because of like policy, politics, cultural traditions, you know, all of these aspects. And what Gaia does is it creates a space where we are able to share and lead authentically, because I believe that it all comes from within. Like, of course we can get like handouts and people supporting us and sponsoring us to move up the chain, but really if you're able to lead like authentically and as you, then that's where the change will happen.
Do you see it's great, I love that. Do you see, we talk about authentic leadership, a lot of bullshit when it comes to leaders saying the right things but not actually really embodying them or feeling them. You know what I mean?
I can't stand that.
They just literally have read a manual how to be a great leader.
Yeah.
But actually in practice, they just become some authoritarian kind of dictator, and empathy just goes out the window.
Yes.
Doesn't that piss you off?
It does piss me off.
Talk to me about it.
I can't stand that. And I don't know how. I honestly don't know how people get away with that. Because you can see it, you know, and what happens is you just have like disengaged teams who tick the box, but they never go that extra mile for you because they don't like you and it's not trusted. I do think that, I just noticed your mug, we come back to that.
Hey, by the way, you're the first guest for season 4 I've noticed. Thank you so much.
Really?
We'll come back.
Yeah.
This is more important.
Yeah, very cool. But I do think the world is changing, and in some parts of the world more than others, but I feel there's way more discussion on empathetic leadership, servant leadership, you know, all like the Simon Sinek, Adam Grant, all of those leaders. And I feel that it's going to get more and more as particularly the younger generation. I don't think they'll be leading like this authoritarian approach. I
don't even know if there'll be companies for them to lead in. I think everyone's setting up doing their own thing. Honestly, we talked about this off camera. The workforce now, if you're a 22-year-old, 23-year-old, do they really want to graft, put in those hours and sort of climb the corporate ladder after 15, 20 years? Doesn't tend to be the case. AI has changed the game, but also culturally, behaviorally, things have moved on from our time. So I don't know what type of companies they're going to have. And then by definition, if you're not leading a company, you still need to lead, but what are you leading? And then do those metrics around leadership then change because of it.
Yes, and I think that, people will have kind of not one career, they'll have multiple careers, and they might do it all at the same time. And it's not going to be that you work in the, I did 10 years at HSBC, which is crazy, but I had 7 different roles.
One
in
of my
that
clients,
time.
by the way, HSBC was one of my clients.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I know them very well.
And I think to attract that talent, you have to change. You have to be adaptable to that, and you have to be inspirational for people to want to work with you, the best people.
Yeah.
And with this kind of global movement as well, you can be anywhere in the world and do any job you want. It's just people just need to really kind of wake up to that, because the old time is there you are.
Authentic leadership, what does that look like to you? Because the word authentic has been mentioned a lot. Okay, it's the new buzzword when it comes to leadership, but also content creation. What does it mean to be authentic? And how do you really know if someone's being authentic?
I think you can feel it. If you're kind of emotionally intelligent, I think you can feel it. If
that's on a
someone's
one-to-one level.
Yeah. For me, it's showing up as who you are, and really sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Love that.
And it's not, if you look on socials and stuff, the stuff people post it makes my toes are like curling now just thinking about it. Are these perfect lives and stuff, and I don't think that's helpful. I think to share real stories that inspire people about your lived experience, that for me is being authentic. And if you're in a leadership position, if you messed up, you said, you know what, I just gave you the wrong direction, you delivered it, and I'm sorry, it's absolutely my fault. And doing that publicly as well in front of people and not hiding things, I think is so important.
As a weighted question, men or women, who makes better leaders?
I think women, but I think I'm biased on the basis of, like, when I look at, for example, world leaders at the moment and the weight on men, it's all like super power hungry and, like aggressive leadership. And I think if you had like more gender balance on the world stage, you wouldn't see that.
100%.
And so
do women have more empathy? Therefore, they have better level of understanding, comprehension to make more balanced, informed decisions?
Yes, I think naturally we are more empathetic. But I think that even if you look at female leaders now, because of the lack of role modeling before, some of that's got lost.
Yeah, but even male leaders, though. Sorry to interrupt, but male leaders, look around the world now. Give me 3 amazing male leaders.
I can't.
Give me 3 amazing female leaders.
Jacinda.
Anyone else?
She's gone. I was listening to a podcast with her the other day, actually.
But you see, there's a real absence, especially because typically when you think of leaders, you think of leaders of states, of countries. Okay, then you have, now that the private sector is taking over, and look at the characters in the private sector. Look at the big techs.
Yeah.
Right, the Musks of the world, the Zuckerbergs of the world, and so on. Are they great leaders? Do we have enough great leaders? And what is the benchmark now? So I've got 2 young kids. You have a young daughter. They're growing up into this world today. We grew up in the world of Nelson Mandela, as an example, right? Gandhi was still alive. Mother Teresa. We had leaders who weren't necessarily political, but who were humanitarians. Do you lose a little bit of faith in where we're going as humanity?
I do. Absolutely. And the world stage at the moment is a joke. It's disgusting. Yeah. And I think actually you can really see that money is power, and that is so stark right now. But what I think is it's these little increments that people do that make a real difference. And you can see, like, in communities and countries and people speaking out for stuff that is making a difference. It's taking longer on certain subjects. And for me, with Gaia, if I make 5% difference in the UAE, I'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's cumulative, of course, but it's what can we do as humans to make a difference? Because they're not going to do it for us.
Speaking of making a difference, and we as humans, you went to the West Bank.
Yes.
What was that like?
It was so sad, and something I've never experienced anything like it.
So why did you go, and what was the mindset that you had, and then what happened, and what's changed for you?
So we went in 2017. Before I lived in the region, we were going to visit Jordan and hit the sites and the natural wonders of the world. And my husband said, if we go that close, then we should go to the West Bank and experience it, and see what it's really like. And of course, I had an awareness of what was happening and has been happening for decades. But when you're living in Europe, you're just not exposed. And I think even here at the time, it doesn't hit the news constantly, you know, it's just accepted of something that happens. And basically what I saw was slow kind of ethnic cleansing with nothing that's not deliberate.
This is 2017.
2017.
Okay. So anything specific happened to you or to your husband?
A couple of things. So when we tried to enter, my husband was stopped by the IDF going through because our surname's Kamall, which is a Muslim name. So he's British. He's not Muslim, not that that should matter. But he got stopped and was held basically at gunpoint for 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, whilst they interrogated him. He's a very relaxed person. I think if it was me, I would have, you know, I don't know what I would have done. But of course it was scary. And then eventually they let us through. But that was the story for us at every checkpoint. But that's the story
and
of...
you're white and you have a British passport.
Yeah. And that's the story of every person in the West Bank, every Palestinian in the West Bank, or like Arab in the West Bank, on a daily basis. And just seeing and speaking to people like firsthand of what actually happens there, you know, like putting the wall straight through people's like farms and livelihoods, and limiting tomatoes that you can buy to like 5 a week, and turning off the water whenever you want, and just the complete control that Israel has as an occupying power over Palestinians is disgusting. And we regularly saw in Bethlehem, which surprises me because it's supposed to be a place of worship, you know, and it should be respected.
It's one of the most, if not the most, historical religious sites in the world.
Yeah, and we're walking around the religious sites just thinking, what is this? You know, how can this be around here? But we regularly saw kids throwing stones against the boundary wall. And I've got videos, I've posted videos of this on LinkedIn. And then immediately the IDF open up the barriers and like start shooting rubber bullets and tear gas. I mean, there's no way those stones can penetrate the wall. Just leave them to it, you know. And then at night they'll go and get them out of their beds and chuck them in prison and then try them in a Israeli military court with a 99% conviction rate. So,
and the thing is that I'm worried that as we're filming this, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the day after. I can pretty much guess what's going to happen, but I don't know how many people will see what we're talking about. And that's what bothers me. So one thing is about talking about it, which not many people are, although things are starting to change a little bit. But how often or how many of those messages, once they're talked about, will actually be seen by a viewing audience? That's my bigger problem.
Do you mean literally like the suppression by...
being shadow banned?
Yeah, shadow banned.
Because of the content. If you mention certain words, they trigger the algorithm to basically say, it's not going to work, you know?
Doesn't even show up in your stories, does it? You post stuff and they just remove it.
So that's the bigger crime for me. Not just that people aren't talking about it, it's that people are not allowing you to talk about it, to share a message. And what is the message? The message is killing is wrong. That's the message.
Yeah.
The message is trying to take care of other people is wrong. People allowed to have rights is wrong. I mean, this is what we're saying. You know
I know.
I mean?
People...
We're not talking about political ideologies. We're talking about basic fundamental human rights. It's not right to kill people. It's not right to occupy people, but you can't say that.
I know. It's like people have the right to exist and that's it. You know, nothing else has the right to exist actually. Yeah. But people have the right to exist. And one of the best things for me about leaving corporate is the ability to speak up on whatever I want to say.
I love that.
I don't work with clients that don't align to my values or corporations. You know, it's just really black and white for me.
That's what I love. I mean, your story, again, there's a lot of people, and this is why I wanted you on, Marisa, because there's a lot of people who have climbed the corporate ladder. They're in their 40s or early 40s, or not yet quite 40. Soon, it's coming. And they feel stuck. They don't know what to do. They feel like they're just kind of they're existing. They're they're just going on automated trajectory, and it's not something for them. But they do have a choice. There is a choice, but you have to constantly be aware you do have one, and you're opting in to stay where you are and do what you want to do. You've decided to change your course completely and align to your values, where you can help people where you didn't have potentially much help, and you get to say things politically or from a humanitarian perspective that you probably couldn't say beforehand. So you fully align with your values. Imagine everyone did that. Imagine. But people don't, because they worry about the security, they worry about the finances. How can they sustain a living? How can they provide for their children? I mean, me and you have talked off camera. Me and my wife are both doing startups, right? It's tough to live a life, especially in Dubai. And everyone's asking me, how are you doing? It's great that you're doing this, but like they're secretly asking, how are you able to do this? You know? And that's the challenge for so many. So what's your message to people who are desperate to do something, but they have this thing in the back of their mind saying you can't do it because you have to play it safe. You got to make some money, whilst at the same time affecting their own value system?
I think there's two parts to it. The first is like when we bring up children doing it with a different mentality, you know, in that for me, it's like, what do you want to do? What do you enjoy? Of course, it's important to be able to sustain yourself and make money, but I definitely drove down I need to make money and this is important to me, rather than like I sort of pushed all this other stuff away. Like, even though I didn't enjoy banking that much, I was like...
I mean, who does? Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, honestly, if you work in banking and you absolutely love what you do, you're in the minority.
Exactly. But I genuinely feel that if you follow your passion and you go for it, you'll be successful in whatever that could look like. So I left university. I went back, but I left university because I wanted to be a hairdresser.
Did you?
Yeah. And I wanted to be like a hairdresser to like the stars, you know, and
hey, it's still there. You can still do it.
Yeah, I'm not interested anymore. And my parents were like, you know, go traveling, do your thing. And then if you want to go to university when you get back, you can figure it out. And I was traveling. I was like, you know what, I'll just go and get a law degree. Just get it done. And then I can do what I
wait, getting a law degree, you make it sound like it's going to the supermarket buying some potatoes. It isn't that. It's years of hardcore studying and reading.
But I got it done. And then you just kind of already on the rat race. You've already got student debt or whatever. But I genuinely feel, had I stopped at that moment and gone into hairdressing, I would have made a success of that, you know. But there's been moments in my life where I've carried on. And now at this stage, I think you've just got to go for it. You got to figure it out and have the grit to just go for it. I always think, I don't feel like I've got that much money now, you know, but worst case scenario, I have a house that I could sell. We could go and live in Thailand.
You've got 2 mangoes in your football.
Yeah,
you're doing all right.
Yeah, exactly. I've got the
all right.
mangoes. They always go off before we eat them, which is...
Yeah, we'll save them for a nice occasion, but then you never eat them.
And I always sort of have that like mentality of, we do have a house here. Like, we don't own it outright, obviously, but I could take that and go to Sri Lanka if...
Worst case.
Worst case, and then we'd have a beautiful life there.
My wife always says, what's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
That's her, and that's where she goes to. In my mind, it kind of plunges. And on that note, you're right. You're going to take charge of the show. Okay? There are 8 questions written on golf balls. You told me off camera your mum is an amazing golf player, which is fantastic. If she's ever in Dubai and wants a round, tell her not to call me.
Yeah.
But the bag is yours.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I really hope you're enjoying the episode so far. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Throughout my career, I've met a lot of people that have anxiety when it comes to public speaking. If you're someone that has that anxiety or nervousness and has always wanted to be more confident in public speaking, but you're also not sure where to go or how to start, the good news is I might be able to help. I have 20 years experience working in corporate communication. I'm a former regional CEO and I've helped to win over 80 different clients through new business pitches. With so many online trainings based on theory, I wanted to share what's helped me in the business world. I've launched my own training program called Master Pitch. This 7-module course covers everything you need to know, whether it's learning how to really understand the audience, how to deliver real impact, or how to effectively storytell. I've got it covered. With practical tips and real examples, you can immediately start turning that anxiety into confidence. Also, in a world of AI, there's never been a more important time to invest in your personal brand and in developing your public speaking. For more information, go to lucaallam.com or drop me an email at info@lucaallam.com. Right, let's get back to the episode. Yes, please.
Okay.
So try and power through.
Quick fire.
Well, insightful. Let's make them insightful.
Okay. So postnatal depression, where does the line start and end for a company's support? Oh, this is a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. A company feels responsible, a good company feels responsible for their employees. But yet, if someone is suffering from postnatal depression for 6 months, 2 years, whatever the case may be, at what point they say, you know what, this is really hurting the business. So where does the line sort of start and end for companies dealing with this type of issue?
Yeah, so for me, it starts before. It starts when you're pregnant and figuring things out, and just that awareness and support of what might happen. So I never even knew that it was really a thing, because nobody talks about it. So I think just that awareness before, and then support when you come back with kind of like real hands-on help with therapy and support groups within, you have quite a lot of these new parent groups, but make them tangible, not just some like tick box exercise, because I really feel that hands-on support would have been so helpful for me. So I think the before and then the return, excuse me, and then I don't think it would last as long, genuinely. So
where does their responsibility really end? Is it because they've had the baby, let's say they give, I don't know, in the UK what it is, or even the UAE, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, whatever the case may be, they've supported that individual, but yet they're still obviously suffering from postnatal. So how long should they continue to support into that period?
It's very multifaceted, because I think the support comes in several forms. So things like flexible working make a big difference. Increased paternity leave makes a big difference.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So it's not, from your experience, like how long?
I had 1 week, then they changed it to 2 weeks here in the UAE. But honestly, any dad who's had a baby doesn't want to go back to work. I went back to work 3 days later, but that's a nuanced point, but it's not long enough. And that's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
It's all of those factors. It's hard for you. It's hard for your partner. And there's so much to it to unpack. But I would put it on, if it was really prolonged, then I kind of put it in the, how would you manage a regular kind of mental health issue? But I think it's compounded by all these other factors and lack of support. The fact that companies demand you're back in the office like 9 till 6, and then your breastfeeding becomes difficult, and then the challenging the pumping room, and all these
There's a pumping room. That's good that they have a pumping room.
Yeah,
that's good. That's
although someone got locked inside ours once, it was a really horrible experience.
Got locked inside the pump. Was it a man or a woman who got locked? Okay, good. Because if that's a man, that's traumatic for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I remember she told me, like, because we were trying to make some changes afterwards, there's just this big, bright, horrible hospital light that's over the top of you whilst you're trying to do these things. It's always like it's good, but it's always it's an afterthought. And the whole environment, and just when people come back, having managers that really check in.
So if they're all women, it's easier to do that. But unfortunately, most workplaces, they tend to be more nuanced, especially in leadership, to men. So that becomes more problematic.
And then there's an educational piece around that as well.
Do you think men, when they're hiring someone, a man and a woman, and they're in the late 20s, and he knows both are married, they both don't have kids, do you think, and they're both equal when it comes to their performance and their CV contribution experience, do you think there's a bias that he will choose the man over the woman for the simple reason she's likely potentially to have kids in the future?
I think it used to be like that. I don't think people think in the same way now. I think people can see. We hope not. Yeah. We hope. And it also depends where you are. If I speak broadly, then I mean that's the sort of thing my dad says still.
Yeah.
So it does. Luckily, he does not employ people, but it does still happen. But what I like to think anyway is, regardless of the gender thing, you can always differentiate. Someone's never even. So what is it about the two candidates that puts one above the other?
Okay. Another ball.
Scared. Can diversity efforts succeed without tackling the unconscious bias? No, I don't believe they can. And unconscious bias is such a big topic, and it's so difficult, particularly in like multicultural environments, because we all have them. Even if, for example, like someone doesn't speak English particularly well, you can immediately, I'm not saying you do, but it's easy to label someone as maybe they wouldn't be able to handle this complex issue, when actually it could be way more skilled and proficient than you are. And I think particularly from Western cultures, particularly British people, we're so used to like speaking English, and we don't speak any other languages. We're pathetic, you know.
English people don't need to speak other
Yeah,
languages.
exactly.
That's the, you know.
It's awful. And then you come to other markets, and I think people that aren't kind of, might not be as global, have less appreciation. Whereas, you know, I've learned from living in and being a person that's had to learn Portuguese in Brazil, how difficult it is. Just gives you a completely different perspective on that, and how amazing it is that people speak multiple languages.
Yeah.
And they work in organizations where, you know, the main language could be English in a country that's Portuguese speaking, as an example. So it's so multifaceted. I think people have different unconscious biases. I do like to I once interviewed someone, she works for NHS England in the UK, and she said to me, and I love this, she was like, I hate the term unconscious bias because you don't go to work in an unconscious state, you know, and if you are, then how are you managing? How are you operating? How are you still
too many
there?
drinks, probably.
Yeah. And it's like, actually, it should be conscious. You should be aware of it. And whenever I've caught myself thinking something, I try, you know.
But have you done therapy?
Yes.
Have you done subconscious therapy?
No.
There's a big difference. So you go to let's say a traditional psychologist, you can spend weeks on end talking to them about issues that are quite superficial, but the real ingrained issues are always in your subconscious.
Yeah.
They're always linked to traumas. They're always linked to your childhood, right? And that takes a lot of work. But the effect it has later on in your life is tremendous. Like I'm doing it. I've done it. It's something that I'm going to continue to do. But when it comes to women in leadership, there is a lot of unconscious bias.
Yeah.
So the question is asking, can there ever really be true, what was I say? What was I ask? Equality? Did I ask for equality? What was it?
Can diversity efforts
Diversity
succeed?
efforts, yeah. Can diversity efforts really succeed if it's not tackled? You said no, straight off the bat.
Yeah, no.
So what do we need to do to change the unconscious bias?
There's the educational piece, and it can't be, you know, coming in and running a workshop, because all of that, I think something like 90% of that is forgotten within 6 days.
In one ear out the other.
Yeah, if you're not
Practicing
embedding it and practicing it. And it really is creating a like speak up culture where we call each other out, we have open discussions, get to know each other on a personal level, understand different cultures. You know, I don't think it's going to be fixed in the next, however, I like to think quite
You're positive.
Positive.
You are positive.
But I don't think it's the next kind of decade. It's like really ongoing. But I think this global movement as well, and people like genuinely really mixing. I feel a bit, I'm so privileged to be here.
Yeah.
You know,
we're extremely privileged to be here.
It's just so diverse and so amazing.
Have you changed as a person because of your exposure to these cultures?
Definitely.
How were you before? How are you now?
So I've always loved to like travel, and I've traveled all over the world, and I love experiencing other cultures kind of firsthand and seeing like the real stuff. But I think when you live in places, you just understand how different people operate kind of intrinsically.
Yeah.
And there's some things that are just so amazing that I think we lack in British culture. One of them is that real kind of like family tradition and bond. And, you know, I love my family to bits, but as soon as you can move out, you move out.
Yeah.
You know?
In fact, in the UK, they encourage you to move out.
Yeah, exactly.
In the Middle East, they're like, stay as long as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's only as you kind of experience that and you see what others have that you think, oh yeah, that's like an amazing part to have. And how welcoming people are in other parts of the world. So you know, when I lived in Brazil, I was always invited to people's houses, and it was never too late or too early.
Yeah.
You know, it could be 10 p.m. So I'll just come round for a drink. And
What was Brazil like?
Incredible.
Rio? Where were you?
Sao Paulo.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the finance capital.
Yeah. But I spent a lot of time in Rio as well. It's
Okay. With Elise, living it up.
Yeah, don't.
woke. You haven't used your safe word. Yeah. I want to know more about you and Elise. So on that note, let's do another ball.
Okay. These are hard. Male leader versus female leader. What are the common misconceptions made? Okay.
Let's talk about females first. What are the misconceptions about female leaders?
A couple of things. I think there's this like women, like, you know, this male kind of thing around women leaders, in that they're all like, you have to be masculine to be successful. And that's what we see. And women don't help other women. I really hate that.
That's a misconception, or is that truth?
I think it's a misconception generally. Of course, you've got people that don't.
Yeah.
But generally, I think it's a misconception. The reality is, if all women leaders helped all women leaders, it wouldn't make a difference anyway, because there's not enough.
It's too small. I had a lady called Lubna in that seat, I think season 2. And she is a VP of a prominent tech company. And in technology and women leadership, she's basically the only one in the Middle East. Okay. She manages over 15,000 people across, like she's a big deal. So we talked about women leadership. And one of the things that she said, one of the insights is that there's no womanhood, right? They don't seem to help each other out as much as they should do. Whereas men will somehow rally around each other to support each other. But women are sort of because there's so few of them, they try and save their own skin because they're so worried that they don't actually try and band together. So I thought that was quite an interesting take. Do you agree, disagree?
I agree, but I think there's way more women that aren't like that. You know, like if I look at all of our Gaia members, the generosity and support that they like provide for each other with no other agenda but to help each other show up.
And that's a network.
Leaders.
That's not at an industry level. So it's at a workplace, it's different. You know what I mean? So boys will band together somehow. This is what she was saying. But in a workplace, women don't band together. It's kind of every woman for themselves. Which I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah, I think it depends. I mean, I feel like I have seen it, but I think it looks worse than it is because there's not enough women. So if you have one that's like that in 5, then it has a big impact. Whereas lots of men aren't like that.
Can I tell you one misconception that I've had that people have come to me because I was in leadership position, they would say, look at other leaders and say, she's trying to be more like a man in order to keep, that's a common misconception I've heard a lot. What do you think about that? Do women need to adopt masculine energy to be more successful, or to sort of blend in? Or is it something that they do short term and then eventually course correct themselves?
I think the generation before was like that.
Okay.
And I think now we have the space and the permission to show up differently, but it's on us.
Okay.
So I think the role models that we've had before have had a masculine energy, whether male or female, but it's totally on us to change that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've had people that I've coached that are like, I can't do it like that because X, Y, Z, or it's just not like that in the corporate culture. I'm like, you're a director or you're a managing director. You show up as you and change that narrative.
Yeah.
Be the person that people, women and men, look up to, and like, you're a really good leader. You know, you're empathetic. You can be authoritarian when it needs to be done, when there's a deadline that's tight and it is just going to be done this way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need that collaboration.
You've got a clear vision, you're decisive.
Yeah.
You sort of encompass, you bring people together as well.
Exactly. So it's a misconception, but I think that it's changing.
Okay, do men. What are the misconceptions about men as leaders?
Misconception as men as leaders.
We suck at listening. Go on. What are the misconceptions?
I think there's probably a, you know, this aggressive
ego.
Yep. Decisiveness.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Not a lot of men are not decisive.
They're not decisive. What else is there?
God, just open up that bag. Just run riot.
That they're better, I think.
Yeah.
More numbers driven, more strategic.
Yeah. I've heard more creative.
More creative.
Yeah. I've heard that women leaders focus more about solving problems. Men think more entrepreneurial and creatively to try and grow. That's again, I'm glad I wanted that reaction. So talk to me about that misconception.
I think that women are more collaborative in approach. So we will
play well with others.
Yeah, naturally play well with others. And then we might make a decision that discards like opinions, but we'll have got the facts first.
Yeah.
Whereas I think men are more likely to be like, I've got an idea and I'm just going to go for it and railroad it. Not all men. I don't like talking like this because actually I have a real respect for like.
But it is because if you're a 22-year-old getting into corporate, you're looking up, right, and you're seeing a male leader and a female leader. You're either one or the other. You either want to become more like him or you want to become more like her potentially because they're your role models.
Yeah.
So I was always indoctrinated to think that the male leaders need to be very decisive with their decision making, very clear with their communication, but project that they are one of the people. That's how I was raised.
Yeah.
From a corporate culture perspective. They weren't supposed to be empathetic. They weren't supposed to be, come, let's sit and let's have a talk and I want to hear. No, that wasn't what men did, which is completely wrong. But a lot of our generation was raised on that. So again, you pass that down. If people are going to stay in corporate as a young person, they're going to be basically educated with people like me, or my former selves, you know?
I think there's so much support needed on the other side as well, you know, to be able to lead like that naturally. And I think if you look at the leaders now, it's almost too late to build that in. But I think where we're going now, and like I said before, you know, the greats that talk about this stuff is all about empathetic leadership. And it's about this new wave of men role modeling that. And, you know, I definitely have that in my friendship groups and stuff, is like this conversation is a real, like emotionally intelligent, relatable between us.
Yeah.
And that's what it should be like
100%.
in corporate. It shouldn't make a difference.
It shouldn't. But we become a different person. We adopt a sort of an alter ego when we go to work, thinking we've got to lose our real authentic self, go to work, game face, act 1, 2, 3, tick those boxes, what you need to do, even if it's not really you, and then come back and like, oh, it goes over. Remove your suit or whatever you're wearing, get into something more comfortable. That's more you.
It's exhausting, isn't it? Even just saying that, I feel like... Oh. Watching you say that.
Right, next ball.
Okay. I like these balls, by the way.
Thank you.
Like
branded for season 4. There we go.
Very
Look, I love the attention to detail. I love it.
Are feminists misrepresented, underrepresented, misinterpreted, or misaligned? So I would say misinterpreted. I think being a feminist is just like, you know, being woke. It's just doing the right thing. Like, you want gender parity. We don't have it right now. We're way behind. So it's just about saying and bringing to the fore all of these issues and driving the cause. I would do it with anything, you know. I talk Gaia's gender focused, but there's like other demographics that I'm interested in supporting and I speak out about, and I see it as the same thing.
Yeah. So misrepresented.
Wokeism. It's not, I'm not using it, but you know.
So misrepresented. Okay. And how do you think they're being represented? How do they come across?
I think the term isn't used as much as it used to be used. You know, it used to be kind of, maybe it still is in certain circles, and I've just kind of moved away from it, or like
the word someone mentioned the word feminism on the show, and the comments that we got on social media, but they weren't listening to what we were actually saying. They just heard the word and it triggered something, and it was like, blah, right? But a lot of people have misinterpreted, and that's why I asked the question: is it misunderstood? Is it underrepresented? Because there is a lot of miscommunication, misalignment with that word, and it seems to sort of bring out two extremes, like burn the feminists. No, love the feminists. It's like I'm like, why can't you be somewhere in the middle? You know what I mean? Why does it have to be the extreme?
For me, again, it's, you know, it's not about whacking on hemp knickers and singing Kumbaya. It's about
got this image in my head with holding mangoes.
Yeah, exactly. It's just about, do you believe in like human rights? Again, do you believe in fairness? Yes, I do. I'm sure you're a feminist. You sound like one, you know, and I appreciate that. But it's like, I would do the same for you if I felt like you needed support. And it's not.
It's justice, really. At the end of the day, it's about justice. And that's true of anything in life. Anyway, I once asked a journalist, what's the bigger crime? The the misinformation, the fake news really,
Mm-hmm.
or the uncovered news. And for me, the bigger crime was the uncovered news. Because no one cares, because they come from a certain geography or, you know, ethnicity or whatever. That really bothers me. And so for me, the heart of what I try and do the show is to give a balanced view, but to expose and try and fight for justice, for the voices that you don't always hear, for the other sides of things, but also to get insights that can sort of illuminate, hopefully, and make someone's mind a little bit clearer in terms of where do they stand on certain topics.
Yeah, I love that. And the fake news is probably only there because I'm thinking about it. The fake news is probably only there because the uncovered news has somehow made it into mainstream press.
So feminism for feminists, more misinterpreted than anything else. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice and easy. Next.
Okay. West versus East cultures. Who's better supporting women with career and motherhood? Ooh. So this is an interesting one. So what I love about being here is an underlying respect for women and the way that women are treated. Definitely. You know, like I don't think there's as many kind of like interruptions, and I feel like there's a space to speak. I feel like, you know, in terms of where we are is further behind, which is driven by like culture, tradition, and lots of things that are changing now. When it comes to the West, I feel that we talk a good game, but it doesn't necessarily like actually play out that way. So the West kind of sees itself as superior on all of these rights issues, but actually there's so many things that are underhand, or they do them in other countries and stuff, which unfairly impacts women and men actually, that it might not necessarily be present in the UK. They just do it to other countries, and you know, you're okay to dehumanize women and children elsewhere, but here, you know, we've got all these women in corporate and these like high level jobs, and I just think you can't kind of just see one without the other.
It's hypocritical.
Yeah.
A lot of it. So in the Arab world, the mother plays such a crucial role in everyone's dynamic.
Yeah.
Okay. They kind of run the house, they run the husband, they run the kids. In the UK, it's not really like that.
No, it's not like that. And the way, I'll be interested in your dynamic in a second as well. But the way we operate is really kind of 50-50, and like on the house stuff, I mean, I'm not the one cleaning up. And yeah, it's really 50-50. It's 50-50 when it comes to Paloma. I would say what I carry more is that mental load of what's she going to eat today? Has she got her like fancy dress for the 10th dress up this month? You know, all of these things. I think, I don't know what it is. I can't shake it from my psyche, but it's just naturally there. And that's where the stress comes from parenting. But we definitely not like that.
Yeah.
What's
like the Lebanese, like my wife's Lebanese.
Yeah.
So in the Lebanese culture, she's used to everything going through the mum, the wife, including the finances. We had a conversation before we got married. We did a marriage, like it's like a marriage class that you kind of do just before you say I do. And they asked us a question. So they give me a sort of like a document with certain questions on, they give it to Rasha as well. We answer, and then we swap and we compare each other's answers. One of the questions was, which is great. So you get to see where you're at. In the document, one of the questions was, who should manage the finances, right? She put her, I put me.
Go on, Rasha.
Question after that was, when was the last time you did a health check, a financial health check? She put yesterday. I was like, and I put 2 months ago, okay? And then I said to Rasha, what do you mean health check? Yeah, I went to the ATM and I went to see how much money I have, debit, credit. And I was like, that's not really a health check. But what I would say is that, you know, it's where it comes from. My wife because she grew up in a household where the mum takes care of everything. So she naturally would think, even if it's not something that she's strong at, and she's very strong at finance, she's very strong at a lot of things, but because her mum taught her to do it in a certain way, she automatically thought she's going to take care of the finances of the house.
Yeah.
So again, culturally ingrained in. And my mum is Italian, but I grew up in boarding school. So I have a very different type of view. It was British boarding school.
Yeah.
And that's another whole nother conversation. But my expectation was more on the Lebanese side, just because I didn't grow up in a household where I could witness it. So I would just imagine this is what it would be like. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. My parents, my mum, she stopped working after she worked in a supermarket when she had us, and she did that for a few years, and she had a great career before. Tesco's, yeah, it was
Love
Tesco's. Actually.
Every little helps.
Yeah,
but the mangoes are cheap there, don't you?
Yeah, she had a great career before that, and then she had us, and then my dad's business took off, and she decided to be a stay-at-home mum. But she very much in control of the finances as well, and good. She, I guess, she rules the house really.
Yeah. The question "who wears the trousers" gets asked a lot. Why do people ask that question, and why does it matter who does wear the trousers if there is one person who wears it?
I think it's a bit old school, isn't it?
Is it?
Like,
someone asked me the other day.
Did they? Do you know what? I was even thinking when I was talking about my mum, I was like, I could say she wears the trousers, but I didn't. And then when you said it, I was like, oh no. I don't think it does matter, like every relationship can be different and like have a different dynamic. Like who cares, And before we had Paloma, Aaron actually said, he was like, I'll be a stay-at-home dad. You can carry on at HSBC, it's fine. And then when we had her, he was like, I don't want to be at home. I don't want to be doing this full time. It's really hard, so. Yeah.
So, okay. So what's the stereotype? Imagine if someone asked me, don't I take just swat it away.
We need one of those things.
We don't have any fly animal rights here. If I told someone, if they asked me, Luca, what do you do? Because everyone asks the question, right? So it's one of those, ice-breaking questions you have over dinner.
Yeah.
So Luca, what do you do for a living? If I told them I'm a stay-at-home dad, what do you think the reaction would be in the Middle East?
It'd be like, whoa. But then
isn't that unfair?
Yeah, it's totally unfair.
If I was a woman and I said I'm a stay-at-home mom, what would be the reaction in the Middle East?
Like normal.
So how is that fair?
Yeah.
So it doesn't, for me, it's not just about looking at the feminine side. I have to look at the masculine side. My show, I try and bring as much balance as possible. The paternity thing is just one thing.
Yeah.
But, if we created a male leadership group to talk about supporting each other, I had someone who came on the show. I'm not going to name his name. I'm not going to say who it is out of respect. But he said, when you get to a certain age, you're successful, you just miss hanging out with guys. You miss that guy brotherhood because all you do is compete. But all you want to do is just hang out with your mates. And he said, I miss just hanging out with my mates. Can we be friends? Can we hang out after work? Because you get to a certain age and a certain level and you're just like, you just want to revert back to type because of the pressure that you had to perform a certain way. So I also believe that men need to have their own groups to do whatever they need to do. And it shouldn't just be women. But that's just me. What do you think about that?
I agree with that. And actually, I was talking to Aaron about it, my husband. He was like, when are you going to set up Giza? Let's set up Giza. And I was like, I actually quite like the idea. Obviously, I wouldn't lead it, but I think it's great. Yeah. I think all of these spaces, and for men, because suicide rates and everything are much higher with men, it's because there aren't these spaces and men don't talk to each other. So I think just having that is amazing,
I had there was a lady called Mimi Nicklin came on the show. She was telling me that one of the fastest growing mental health issues is loneliness. She said there's 330 million people in the world who are lonely, probably more now. Okay, most of them are men.
Yeah, and you do see that, don't you? Even in our dynamic, I've got loads of friends.
Yeah,
Aaron's was like, oh, best friends. Are they really your best friends?
Is that from the In-Betweeners?
Yeah.
By the way, if you haven't watched The In-Betweeners, it's very British. Definitely check it out.
But for, I always think, but he just doesn't make an effort with his friends. I think that just happens naturally. He has a core group of friends, obviously, but it's not as like.
But dads, they just kind of eventually just don't make any effort for anybody. You know what I mean? I'm really praying that this show helps me keep being active. Right. On that note, let's plow on.
Okay.
In the gardening term, you haven't had a sip of water. You're okay?
I'm okay, thank you. Yeah. Do women-only networks highlight gender gaps or help bridge male bias? So, For me, and the premise of Gaia, and actually what it's become as it's evolved, go away.
Come on, fly. Come on, fly. Go away. Come on, come to me.
What it's become as it's evolved is really internally focused and getting that confidence back and the ability to like lead authentically and just be you. You know, like last night I had a Gaia session, and one of the things, we normally help each other to resolve issues and opportunities. There's always something to discuss. And last night nobody brought anything, and I was like, oh no, you know, yeah, I mean, we fill the time easily with other stuff, but they were like, you know what, just being in Gaia for the last 9 months has meant that I don't have these pressing issues anymore, because I've got the toolkit to just think differently and resolve stuff before it gets to that stage where I used to be like desperate to bring something to talk about. And actually that's gone away now. So it's really kind of less about the gender gap and more what's inside, because I do believe, like I've already said, that it comes from within. And if you can build that confidence, and that authenticity, that's where the change is going to happen.
Reconnect your value system.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you think a lot of it is people just needing to talk and not to feel lonely?
Yes. I mean, last night I was sort of, you know, filling that gap at the end. So we just spent some time on feedback and what we could do differently as we like scaling and changing things. And they were like, because I always, as you would expect, feel pressure to make sure that the content is really good for each session and it's packed. And they were like, you know what, we'd just like to share some best practices sometimes. Or we'd just like to share like what we're proud of this week, or don't feel like you have to like pack it full of stuff. It's just that community and the connection that is making the difference to us. And I thought that was really powerful.
How good do you feel about yourself when you see the impact it's having on people's lives?
Amazing. Like there's nothing in my life that I would change. Everything is so aligned. I'm constantly able to have a social impact. I'm working hard, but I'm flexible. I'm the fittest I've ever been because I'm prioritizing that, and I've got time to do that. I'm not making excuses anymore. And it's just it's amazing.
Like, well done to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, honestly, because it's, we as an entrepreneur, self-employed, whatever you want to call it, we can paint two types of pictures to people. It's not, you can paint the picture that, I'm doing an amazing, everything's great, it's wonderful, funny, doing what I love doing, but then miss out on telling them the hardship that you have to go through, the late nights. So I think the story, again, to your point, you're doing what you love, but you've had to work extremely hard to do that. You've had to take some big calls, and it doesn't come easy to you.
It's definitely, if it was easy, people wouldn't do it. And there's a lot of graft and grit and determination and decades worth of experience that have been put into it. And I think sometimes you forget that as well, like the cumulative effect of what you've learned. Like it's completely different, but I'm strategic and I'm good with people and I care and I get stuff done.
Yeah. Look, you've got a track record of delivering. So whatever you do, whether it's hairdressing or not, you would have been, maybe not the gardening, but everything else I think would have been great.
Okay. What delivers higher performance? Diversity quota or best candidate wins?
So for a business, okay, a lot of businesses have this quota of saying we need to have 30%, 50% of leadership positions to be filled by women. Okay. So having those kind of quotas for diversity, will that drive higher performance versus, male, female, let the best candidate win?
Both. So I think macro and micro always get these mixed up.
I don't usually let people sit on the fence, but explain.
But I'll explain.
Yeah.
So overall, there's a couple of stats around this. So McKinsey do loads of reports on gender diversity. They love it, but it's really amazing. And the big two are companies in the top quartile for diversity are 25% more likely to be above average profitability than those that aren't. That for ethnic diversity, that 25% becomes 36%. And that's over a decade of research, thousands of companies. So it is proven that diversity wins. I never think that you should hire based on gender or background or age or, whatever it is. I think you should always hire the best candidate. I think you should take a long, hard look at yourself if your 10 employees are white men or they're all one gender, because I don't think you've hired the best candidate for all of those roles. So I think there's ways to protect that and challenge yourself on those, it's like stuff about HR process and all that stuff. We won't go into that, but there's things that you can do to have the right checks and balances in place to avoid that. So it is both.
Are there any industries where you would say it's less prevalent or not to have a quota?
Well, it depends. I think you've got to look at the customers that you're serving as well. So, for example, if you have a makeup brand, you're more likely to have more women
Females
using your products, and therefore, you want to represent your clients, basically.
Yeah. I had a lady sitting here, season 3, Tatiana. Okay, she's the founder of Goombook. It's a sustainability enterprise set up here.
Yeah,
she has roughly around 40 employees. They're all women, and that's sustainability. What's your take on that?
So personally, I wouldn't do that because I like the balance. I'm not saying it needs to be 50-50.
Yeah.
But I like to be more balanced than that.
It doesn't
just
seem
in terms
right.
of
It just does, whatever the industry, having 100% of one gender. And I challenged her on that. She said we did try to hire men, but the men wouldn't stay because there's too many women.
Yeah.
So they left. They couldn't deal with it.
And I think that's what happens with women as well. Male dominated industry, you almost have to make a big play and get in 5 or 6 at the same time.
Yeah. Okay.
So that it really kind of mixes it up. And like I said, one woman on a C-suite makes no difference either. You need a...
Do you think some women get the job because they're a woman, nothing more? They're put in, it's purely optics. They're put in a role that they are not ready for or capable for, but yet the board want to make a statement.
I think more men get the job when they're not capable of, really, than women. I don't think there's much of that happening optics-wise. And actually, even in, if I look at things like the gender pay gap in a country like the UK, since that's been reported, banks just get worse and worse. It gets worse and worse every year. So even though it's so obvious, the gap is getting bigger. Yeah. For some big financial institutions. And I just think it's got that much. It's almost like...
Were you underpaid versus your other previous MDs in the role? Did you ever find out what they were making versus what you were making?
No, someone who used to work for me kept mentioning it after she kind of got promoted. She kept talking about it. I was like,
Well, that you were underpaid.
Yeah. But there's various factors to it as well. So maybe I was paid less, but I was also less experienced.
Okay.
Less years, so and less
that
variety.
makes sense.
So
but then it comes down to percentage differences.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. 3 years difference in experience shouldn't equate to a 30% difference in pay.
Yeah, I think there's so many nuances to it.
Okay, I
think in my situation, I was happy with what I was paid, and in my teams, I did a big pay review across the board to see, are we paying like for like, does it make sense?
Okay.
And then made some small adjustments, to be honest. Nothing really juicy in there.
Okay. Should we do the last one?
Okay. Corporate success and peace of mind, or self-employed risk and peace of soul? I think you know the answer. Shall I ask you?
It changes every day. Some days I'm like, God, I miss having that steady paycheck. I really do. I have to be honest. I really miss it. I miss knowing exactly how much money is going to be in my bank account at the end of the month. But then the part of me, I wake up the next day, I'm like, what am I going to do today? I'm building something for me.
Yeah.
And I did something relatively recently. I did an online training. I built an online training for my public speaking course, launched a new website, did a redesign, done all the pricing strategies, go-to-market strategies. And I look at it and I'm like, I'm so proud of what I've done. And it just felt really good. And I'm like, I just hope it makes some money so I can keep doing what I like to do. But peace of soul versus peace of mind. I mean, I think most of us will look back on our time and we'll never say, I wish I made more money. I hope that's not what we're going to look back and go, I wish I did more for my life and enjoyed my life. So that's why for me, peace of soul, go for it.
Definitely.
Go for it.
The most important thing for me is time. And no matter what you believe happens to you when you pass, you are in this life once. What is the point in going and sitting by a desk in a big corporation, like 7 till 7 every day? What is the point? Like, now I have a beautiful life. I wake up, go to the gym, come back, have a coffee, spend some time with my daughter. She goes to nursery. Then I crack on. Then I'll go and pick her up, drop her somewhere else. And then I can go for a coffee with a friend, or I can meet a client. It's all over the place, the money, like, it will come. It will come.
You know the phrase, inshallah?
Yeah.
Inshallah, baby, inshallah. Okay, so I typically end the show by giving you a blank ball. Okay. Marisa, you ready for a blank ball?
I'm ready for one.
Yeah, you get to ask anything you want to ask, or you get to say anything that you want to say that you haven't done already. Because you don't have enough of those golf balls, so here's one more.
Oh.
You didn't know this was coming, did you?
No, I didn't know this was coming. What's the biggest thing for me? I won't swear, but I would say, like, screw the patriarchy.
Screw the patriarchy?
Yeah.
Elaborate.
That for me is kind of like the way it's so enshrined in everything across the world, everything we do in corporates, in our lives, the way countries are run, the old school kind of mentality of this, like, male systems. Even when I think about, all the data that we use to inform things that keep us safe, or like AC temperatures, all based on like male data. I just think just strip all that back.
Really? So the thermostat is based on...
Yeah.
Do we have different temperature gauges, me and you?
Yes, you run higher.
Okay.
And so AC...
You're just cold, man. You're just cold.
Yeah. AC is set to... I just saw Rasha in a jumper. AC is set to like comfort males, seatbelts and everything. Like women's seatbelts are designed using kids' crash dummies, so that actually we're way more likely to die. I don't know what the facts are. Way more likely to die in car accidents. It's true.
In 2025, that really?
Really true. Yeah.
That's horrendous.
And that is through absolutely everything.
So screw the patriarchy, man. I'm on your side, man. I'm on your side. I don't know what that means for me or my dad or my brother, but screw it.
No, you're allowed to live.
I'm allowed. Thank you so much. Look, it's been a real pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
Eye-opening. Your story is just incredible. What you've been through, what you've achieved, how you choose to opt in and live your life following your values is unbelievable. And you went to the West Bank, which, if nothing else, tells me that you're someone that really does give a shit. So well done. And keep giving a shit.
And thank you.
More of us need to do that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
I'll see you soon.
Right. If you've liked this, drop a comment, drop a share, drop a like, and see you very soon on Luca's Insight Track.